Kyle Fleischmann was a 24-year-old man who vanished after a night out in a sports bar in uptown Charlotte, North Carolina on November 9, 2007. He was described as a Caucasian male with brown hair, green eyes, and porcelain veneers on his upper front teeth. He stands at 6 feet and weighed 180 pounds at the time of his disappearance. Kyle was wearing a black short-sleeved t-shirt, a black pea coat, jeans, and black dress shoes at the time of his disappearance. When Kyle arrived at the sports bar in uptown Charlotte, he had gone there with a friend after attending a comedy show with his family earlier in the evening. After having a few drinks at the bar, his friend had to leave, and Kyle remained. Video surveillance shows Kyle getting into an altercation with 2 to 3 men later on, after of which he decided to leave. Kyle forgot his coat and debit card at the bar. This was especially worrisome since the temperature outside was around 30 degrees Fahrenheit, which was around -1 degree Celsius. Later, Kyle was seen walking alone towards a pizza restaurant on another surveillance camera. Kyle had stopped in the pizza place and ordered 2 slices. The cashier said he remembered Kyle that night and he seemed to be drunk. After Kyle left the pizza place, he started making phone calls. A total of 8 phone calls were made between 2:42 a.m. and 3:38 a.m. that night. Kyle was calling his father's business phone, his roommate, his sister, and a friend who departed home earlier that night. The calls were reportedly extremely short as well, lasting around 10 seconds, and didn't seem to be able to ring long enough to allow someone to answer. After this, Kyle was never seen again. He is classified as endangered missing, and authorities believe he is no longer alive. What do you think of Kyle, though? He looks like a regular, pretty nice guy, right?
Kyle is very nicely described by his friends.
Mm-hmm.
Kyle seems to be how should I put it? Like he has that preppy look, but he looks like that guy who's approachable, yeah. And he looks like that guy who's always up to have a good time.
Yeah.
And he's always gonna help you out.
Mm-hmm.
He has a very nice face to him, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
So -1 to not wear anything but like a shirt.
Definitely freezing.
I don't really understand how he did it, but it maybe can like speak to the amount of alcohol that he had drank at this point, because alcohol will naturally make you warmer. I was even almost considering a possibility where Kyle is actually making these calls in order to kind of act as if he's on the call, in order to kind of don't talk to someone, or maybe even avoid further altercations outside. Do you know what I mean? Like maybe he's just ringing a phone, but he's not actually trying to call. He's actually trying to pretend that he's talking with someone. Maybe in order to kind of avoid having to talk to someone outside.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
You know what I mean? His phone puts him at the entrance of Cordelia Park, which is notorious for drug and gang activity. The park is roughly 2 miles away from the Buckhead Saloon. This means that he would have had to walk about 30 to 40 minutes in 30-degree weather without a coat, which is pretty insane.
So yeah, the next day, the dogs tracked Kyle's scent past the park and into a construction area about 200 yards away. The handler claimed when they got close to the construction site, she could smell death. The handler said it was a very strong scent of a dead animal, or possibly a human. One of the handlers was approached by a homeless man who reported that he saw a gang member or gang members in the park killed Kyle that night, but he was not sure what happened to the body. Yeah, that's true, but I was also thinking about what he was wearing, because apparently he was wearing dress shoes, if you remember correctly. And he has this like rich guy aura in him. He was wearing dress shoes, and probably when he walked in the park, he looked like the kind of guy with like money, and perhaps gang members were like, oh, let's mug him. And maybe in the process of mugging him, he fought back.
I think this is probably the most likely outcome from the information that I've found online.
The last theory that we have was Kyle was cold and he tried to find a warm place to hide for the night and he died of exposure. And as he was walking, or maybe as he was there, he got cold because remember he was only wearing a t-shirt. He tried to find a place to, I don't know, a warm place. And then I was thinking about it earlier that maybe he was walking towards the construction site, found like a ditch, it's warm in there, and then the next day or the following days got buried underneath the sand or dirt.
Yeah.
If you would like to listen to the full podcast episode about Kyle's disappearance case, please find our YouTube channel, Weeknight Mysteries, or listen on your favorite podcast apps. Thank you for listening.